Hello, thank you for joining me today. I am doing a reading for His Royal Highness King Charles III. His coronation is coming up in May, and it is currently late March of 2023, and so I thought it might be a time to do one for him. I regret, though, that I don't necessarily have quite the proper deck for him. I don't have any of the sort of more traditional ones that I think would fit him better. So I'm going to use the Crow Tarot, which I really like. And I think it works to a degree because I believe he likes nature and his house is very beautiful and he's a gardener. And so I thought that that might be appropriate. So I'm going to do a 10 reading like a Celtic cross, although I don't lay them out the way that they are just because I want you to see the cards because they're pretty. So let's get started. Okay, my question is, I'm doing a reading for His Royal Highness King Charles III between now and through his coronation and maybe through the end of 2023. So let's see sort of what is on his radar. Okay, the first card is the general atmosphere. And, oh, interesting. We got the Hermit. I'm surprised by that. Although maybe I would read that sort of as maybe a more of an emotional hermit. I could imagine that he and his wife are kind of sort of hunkering down between themselves to sort of get him ready to prepare for the coronation and his whole new life. And I think maybe he might kind of sort of want to be hiding a little bit from all of the family stuff that is everywhere that we all know about. So, okay, if anything else pops into my head, I'll revisit that, but I think that fits for the moment. So what's crossing that is hope, but in reverse. I'm going to read this as, in general, I read negative or reversals as a lessening of the main card, or meaning that, like, if it's a bad card, like I usually read the reverse of it as like, oh, it's the worst is over and it's getting better. But in this case, I'm going to say that this means that he is, maybe he's given up hope that he can repair his family. I think that actually fits, that like there's a frustration level. Clearly there's contention between his sons and his sons' wives, and he probably has no way really to repair that in the short term. So I think that that's how I'm going to interpret that one. The next card is the crowning card. It's usually placed on the top, and it's kind of what's prominently at view. Okay, so it's the Seven of Cups and it's reversed. The Seven of Cups usually means that there are lots of choices and that the person is maybe having a hard time making a choice, that they're dithering. And that could actually fit in this situation if he's torn between two sons who both have probably very different opinions of the issue, and the sort of the strife between them, and he may really just not know what to do. So the next card is what's below, the subconscious. Okay. There's a frustration, though it's alleviating, it's reducing. He probably was angry, frustrated that, you know, he's waited his whole life for this important role. And I mean, he'd lost his mother not so long ago. And then his whole sort of family situation kind of blew up in front of all of us too. So there probably is a lot of just unhappiness underneath, but it is getting better. It's alleviating. It's cresting. It's starting to reduce. The next card is the near past. It's what's passing away. It's the Two of Pentacles. And usually that is read as somebody balancing, juggling money when they don't necessarily have enough. Like, oh, I'll pay this bill or some of this bill, and then next month I'll pay some of this bill. But in his situation, that's definitely not true. The money issue anyway. I'm going to read this as he was sort of in between two sons. There was a dual issue around him, which is William and Harry, and they're sort of both, and he has to sort of look at probably both of their sides and figure out, you know, what does he do with it, if anything, and there's probably really nothing he can actually really do. So I think that's how I'm going to read that. The next card is the near future. Knight of Wands, reversed. Youngish man. Could be Harry. It could be one of his sons. There's the Knight of Wands. Usually, like, wands are like you're building things. There's often like you're establishing something, you're starting something, you're moving forward with something, like an actual plan. And it could be that whichever of these sons, that isn't happening. So I'm going to say that from Charles's perspective, given that I don't know him at all, mind you, I think that might be Harry. I think that because there's a sun upside down here, that Harry's just not happy, that Harry is sort of a sticking point still for Charles. The next card is the Self card. And this is for Charles, and that is unusual because I know it seems like his marriage is very solid, but it could be that he's feeling the loss of his sons, especially at this moment when he's going to fulfill his role as king, and that is sort of that it's not going to be maybe what he had hoped it would be. Probably he's thought about this for a long, long time. I mean, he probably has had this plan in his head since forever, and he probably thought, oh, my sons will be there and my grandchildren, and it doesn't seem like that may necessarily be the way that it works out. And also, too, I mean, there's that issue with his brother and all of that kind of side stuff, too. So I think he's feeling sort of, there's a lack of love, or the relationships just aren't going the way that he had hoped they would. The next card is sort of it's the House card, and it's usually read as what sort of is seen from the outside, like what the public might see or think about the issue. Okay. Again, it's about money. And I'm so surprised by that. All right, so this is the Five of Pentacles, and that's usually like it's sometimes the poverty card, lack of money, but in his case, I'm going to say that it isn't necessarily money so much as it is the loss of his family. Like, because I guess you could in some way read this to mean that you could say that it's currency, so to speak. And what I mean by that is that because he literally will be on the money, and his situation, or the people are viewing his situation as, oh, I think I have it. I think I have it. The outside influences, the view on this situation is that there's sort of a poverty, there's a lack, which isn't necessarily money, mind you, but it is a lack of family, a lack of the solidness that Queen Elizabeth had presented, because the fact that, William and Harry and Harry's book and their Meghan and Harry's TV series, it's so public that the public has sort of a view that there's a loss around Charles. The next card is the hopes and fears card. It can mean what you wish to happen, or it can also mean what you hope does not happen. So we'll see. Okay. 5 of Cups reversed. So he's hoping that it all doesn't get spilled. He's hoping that there's something left, that the family situation can be repaired. That's his hope. But it has actually spilled already. And so maybe it's the worst of it is reducing, that they've all expressed their feelings, because I'm sure that his son William has expressed to him in private what he feels about Harry, and it's probably not positive. And they probably, I think the whole royal family probably feels kind of vulnerable to the fact that Harry put all this stuff out there, because essentially their positions are very, very precarious and very much dependent on public view of them. And so there's a lot of fear probably around them. So I think that's how I'm going to interpret this one. Now the next card is the outcome. And usually, if I don't feel that the story has resolved itself properly, then what I will do is pull another one or two, but let's just see what we get. Okay. 2 of Wands reversed. Because 2 of Wands is usually the beginning of an enterprise, and it's like we're going to start this thing, and it's moving forward with positivity. But in this case, it's reversed. So, and since it's the end card, I think that means that things just aren't as emotionally settled as he would hope that they would be. That there's going to be lingering strife, and there's probably just nothing he can do about that family-wise. And so he's kind of stuck in this situation where he just has to sort of ride that out. And I think I am going to pull another one and see if I can get more of a resolution. Although if I don't get a resolution, it means that there's still things sort of in play. Okay. All right. I think that Charles, the king, will get a resolution. That his coronation will transform him in a way that that will work out, even if the family stuff does not necessarily, because this is about pulling the elements together. And I believe in the coronation he's literally blessed with oil, and there's sort of a spiritual transfiguration that's supposed to happen, and I think that that's what this card means. So overall, that's not bad. So I think what we've learned is that the family stuff is big, that he's just going to have to ride that out, that, they're adults too, and he can't control all of that stuff. But like personally, he needs to let that stuff go as much as he can. And if he does that, he will get this transformation, that his coronation into his new role will work out, and that he can at least look forward in that way. So, okay. Yeah, this was interesting. I never would have thought about all of the money cards coming up, but it isn't really necessarily money for them. I mean, clearly he does not need money. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I may do a reading next for the Queen Camilla at some point in the next few weeks, because I'm curious to see what the cards will say about her, because I've never read for her before. And again, thank you for listening.